This is my Sarlacc Pit, also known as the Great Pit of Carcoon, and this is my take on what that would look like if it were built in the style of one of LEGO's 18 plus dioramas, and I think it actually turned out pretty good, so let's take a closer look at the overall build, the figures, and then we'll talk about the story and a few other key elements of this MOC.
Something that was important to me was to make this the most accurate I could make it. So I didn't want to cut any corners, and because of that, this took forever to design, especially these slopes because they're in a semicircle and they're angled up. The design was difficult, and they're actually just lying in place. They have some support under them, but nothing to hold them in place. They are letting gravity hold them, and they are all revolving around the Sarlacc itself, which I loved designing. All the teeth, the beak, the tentacles, it was really fun, and I was able to try and get some of the depth of the pit as well with the angles of those side walls. In this build, I'm using LEGO's own 75396 Desert Skiff, which is actually really accurate. I modified it just slightly, and with a length of 9.5 meters in universe, I thought that this was actually really close to minifigure scale, so I opted to use it, and I think it looks really good in this MOC. I found the center of gravity and put a couple clear round bricks underneath to hold it up, and then put a clear antenna up towards the front just to make sure I could keep it at a cool looking angle. The front panels are just bricks on their side, and they have slopes that angle them together into a semicircle, and then I just have supports underneath to hold them at their angle. I built up the sides with these 1x4x3 bricks that I found on the Pick-a-Brick wall for really cheap, and I didn't entirely finish the back, but that will be finished at a later date. And then I built layers of studs knot on top for the top 2 layers of earth. I then tried to make sure that they matched the curve of the semicircle, and then I know it's not as deep as it should be, and the Sarlacc Pit was definitely quite a bit steeper, but I did try and make it match. And like the Sarlacc Pit, I tried to make the desert skiff as accurate to the movie as possible with the placement of these figures, and I have Luke overlooking the Sarlacc Pit, which I think turned out really good, and I really love how it's built with a bunch of hinges and round plates with holes in them with the animal teeth. As far as the characters, we have a Clintonian Raider, which I just substituted because LEGO's never made a Skiff guard. We have Lando in his disguise from 2024, the Weequay from 2017 Skiff. We have Kithuba from the 2012 Skiff. The Weequay with blue arms is from the 2013 Jabba's Sail Barge. And then we have Chewie, which I think came out in 2014 and has not seen any changes. Han Solo from 2025 with his Carbonite Sickness, and Luke from 2025. And for the figures, I modified the deck to be a little larger and more accurate. The Sarlacc itself is a native to the Dune Sea of Tatooine, and its victims are slowly digested for 1,000 years, as C-3PO famously tells us.
I particularly build dioramas to display my figures. Aside from the scenes, I think that the figures are some of the coolest parts of LEGO, and I really want to give them a place to shine and a place to really look good and be in the environment that they're supposed to be in. I think one thing about this scene that really made me want to capture it in LEGO form as well was that it really highlights one of the coolest scenes, at least in my opinion, in Star Wars, where we see a crime lord who has come into this family of generations of crime lords and has risen above them all to become the most feared gangster in the entire universe. And even then, even with all of these paid bounty hunters and guards and bodyguards all around him, he feels impervious. He feels like he can't be touched by anyone or anything. Yet he forgets that Luke defeated his Rancor. He tried the same thing, feeding Luke to an animal to kill him. And Luke defeated the Rancor, and we know how the story with the Sarlacc ends. Jabba thought that he was untouchable, and he laughed off Luke's threats, even though Luke had already proven what he could do. And he repeated the exact same mistake, and this time it cost him not only his empire, not only all of those surrounding him, but also his own life.
The whole model and design actually came from this tongue. I was rewatching episode 6 for inspiration, and the Sarlacc Pit was waving its tongue quite a bit throughout the whole scene. So I really wanted to capture that, and I haven't seen any other mock of this captured with a tongue. So I decided to use a couple of these Bionicle pieces in pink and build it up a little bit, and I think it actually works really well and adds just like, that extra detail, which I think looks really good. Here's another video. I actually found that Lego's claw pieces that they use in this medium nougat color works really well for the flesh around the Sarlacc. I did studs knot on top to hold the tentacles in place, and then, as you can see, I used hinge plates to make the teeth around the mouth of the Sarlacc, and they're not held in by anything but gravity, so I built this wall around it to keep it in place. And now that I'm watching this, I really wish that I had videoed more work in progress shots for this build.
So that is my Sarlacc Pit diorama reviewed for you today. All right, gotta go do some laundry.